Let's continue with another process which a lot of people tend to have a problem with is screening. There are two tests, one is OIR and one is the PPDT, which is the picture perception description test. Now, the biggest mistake I see a lot of people making, especially in PPDT, is when they start describing their story in Hindi. Second is not having the confidence to speak for 1 minute. That is one thing. Because OIRs, at the end of the day, majority people tend to score. If somebody's cleared NDA, he'll be decent in OIR, come what may. Similarly, for CDS and all these entries, somebody who's basic. So OIR is not that big a detriment, but the biggest detriment is PPDT. Secondly, what should one do while preparing PPDT, and what are the role of three assessors who are sitting there during the PPDT?
Okay, first important requirement in PPDT is describing your story in English.
Right.
Okay. When you are supposed to describe your story in English, you're supposed to ensure that you bring out the background first, bring out what is being shown in the picture,
Right.
and also conclude in your own words
Correct.
what is the likely conclusion.
Right.
So that some decision is taken as to what is happening and what is the likely outcome of the situation.
Correct.
So that is how it is supposed to be, and once you start the discussion in a group which happens in a room which is allotted, maximum 15 people are generally in a
Correct.
group. So if you happen to be one of those who's towards the end, you may or may not get time to reframe your story. If it happens to be somebody who's already ahead of you, he's covered the same story.
Right.
तो नॉर्मली कई बार कई लोग क्या करते हैं कि अगर देखा कि सेम स्टोरी किसी और ने सुना दी तो वो अपनी स्टोरी को रिवीजन करने लग जाते हैं या फिर प्रोबेबली रिवाइज करके चेंज कर
देते हैं.
ठीक है, तो चेंज करने के चक्कर में नाउ दे रन शॉर्ट ऑफ आइडियाज कि मेरे को क्या बोलना था, और बैकग्राउंड और प्रेजेंट सिचुएशन और नंबर ऑफ कैरेक्टर सब कुछ चेंज हो जाता है.
करेक्ट.
तो कंफ्यूजन स्टार्ट्स. तो जो अच्छा कैंडिडेट है वो भी इस चक्कर में लूज आउट कर जाता है.
राइट. तो वन थिंग इज नेवर चेंज योर स्टोरी जो है.
हाँ.
बट अनदर एडवाइस है सर, जब निकलते हैं ना, so they have a lot of time, 15 to 20 minutes तो minimum first batch को मिलता है.
Correct.
So what I see majority people talking, they don't tend to revise their stories. That is the time when you can revise your story, think about it, and whatever way you wanted to speak it, you can revise it.
The story which you have written in your paper,
right,
you're not supposed to refer to it while narrating. It is
correct,
supposed to be submitted to the assessors.
Correct, sir.
Okay. By any chance, even if you have not submitted, the assessor who's doing the briefing will tell you to keep it upside down so that you don't see any portion of your story while narrating.
Correct.
You're not supposed to use pen, paper or any such thing. You're not supposed to look into your paper while reading it out. So all those things have to be kept in mind. तो जब story सुना रहे हैं तो उसमें तुम्हें अपना you try and stick to your story, but common sense कह लो या presence of mind कह लो. If you have probably not written your story as good as what you could have done in actual writing, तो उस टाइम पे ऑन द स्पॉट भी अगर तुम चेंज करते हो एज पार्ट ऑफ क्लू कि ओके मैंने ये चीज नहीं थी या मैंने ये नहीं लिखी थी तो मैं अब ऐड कर लेता हूँ, तो दैट कैन बी डन.
राइट, बोलते वक्त, बट विदाउट चेंजिंग द कोर ऑफ द स्टोरी.
हाँ. तो एक्चुअली वंस यू सबमिटेड योर स्टोरी व्हिच इज सपोज्ड टू बी विद असेसर, तो ही इज आल्सो सपोज्ड टू लुक इनटू योर स्टोरी व्हाट यू हैव रिटन.
राइट.
एंड व्हाट आर यू गोइंग टू डिस्क्राइब.
करेक्ट.
अगर वो मैच नहीं हो रहा तो पहली बात तो वहां से पता चल जाता है कि नाउ यू हैव चेंज्ड योर स्टोरी. एंड सेकंड इज इफ यू हैव चेंज्ड और जो तुमने लिखा है और जो तुम बोल रहे हो उसमें बहुत ड्रास्टिक डिफरेंस है इन टर्म्स ऑफ क्वालिटी ऑफ स्टोरी विच हैज बीन रिटन. एंड जब तुम बोल रहे हो, बोलने के टाइम पे फर्क मेजरली तब पता चलता है जब कभी अगर तुम्हारा बीच में नंबर है या टुवर्ड्स द लास्ट नंबर है, तब तुमने जो बोला वो प्रोबेबली यू हैव पिक्ड अप pieces of other stories. And
that is
again
also the reason why, sir, if two people's story are similar, it does not mean the second person will get rejected. अगर उसने सेम लिखी है but उसकी स्टोरी अच्छी है, to reassess it, the assessors do check it कि क्या उसने वही लिखा है. And if you've written exactly the same, don't change if you made a good story.
Correct.
That's exactly what happens, because if suppose test number 1 has spoken, 3 has spoken the same story, and you're number 14, your chance comes, you tend to speak the same, it will not make an impact provided कि आपने वही लिखा है.
Because once you narrate your story, so if you're confident, if you are correct, then where is the problem?
Correct.
तो तुम्हें अपनी स्टोरी तो अच्छी लिखी है, सब कुछ अच्छा है, लिखने के टाइम पे तुमने स्टोरी अच्छे से लिखी, और जो तुम नरेट करने वाले हो वो सेम स्टोरी है और अच्छी स्टोरी है.
Right.
Why do you want to change it? Rather stick to it and let group after that also may accept your story as the
Correct.
final group story also.
Correct. Another thing, so 3 things are told beforehand when you start speaking. That please mention the number of characters, age, sex, mood, action of the story, and then you come to the theme or whatever. So a lot of people make that mistake where they do not speak the exact order. That's the start of it. And we've been saying it again. And secondly, since nobody has watches, you're not supposed to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, because we do not know the time also.
Don't waste time in wishing. वो सब चीजें briefing में बता
Right.
दी जाती हैं.
Right.
You're not supposed to introduce yourself.
Correct.
You're not supposed to address everybody.
Correct.
You're not supposed to address your own group also. You can start your story straight away. And जो briefing जब तुम story लिखने से पहले वहाँ पे hall में जब picture दिखाई जाती है,
Correct.
तो you are supposed to stick to that basics
जो बोला गया
जो
है.
briefing वहाँ पे दी
Correct.
गई है कि number of characters seen, their age, their sex and their mood.
Right.
ठीक है. And if you change the number of characters, then your story is something which you have either mugged it up or copied or pre-planned कि मैं ये story
Sir,
ऐसे ही लिखूंगा.
the most important thing in screening is first 20 seconds you can never go wrong. I see a lot of people first 20 seconds में ही गलत हो जाते हैं when it has been told basic instructions. 1 minute is what you get to speak, and 20 seconds when you are wrong automatically makes a lot of impact, because वो सबसे important है. You will not be able to show yourself for 5 days what you are. Because अगर आप 3 basic instructions ही गलत follow कर रहे हो तो आप future में भी गलत ही करोगे.
Naturally.
And now, sir, coming to the second major thing, जो a lot of people have a problem with, fish market. Everybody starts speaking, everybody is howling. How much of an impact does it have?
It does have an impact in terms of कि you should not get stressed कि मेरे को chance नहीं मिल रहा है
Right.
बोलने का. If you have completed your story and it was narrated well and there was no errors as such also, तो you don't have to worry about कि मेरे को अभी दोबारा बोलने का मौका नहीं मिला.
Correct.
ठीक है. But effort should be made to speak or probably make others listen to you, or probably make group better cohesive group. उनको बोलने की कोशिश कर सकते हैं कि friends this way will not be able to listen to each other.
Right.
ठीक है. तो that effort may also be seen कि हम एक दूसरे की बात सुन ही नहीं पा रहे हैं. ठीक है. But again, trying to make an effort and not making an effort will make a difference.
Correct.
ठीक है. बाकी तुम जबरदस्ती अपना पॉइंट बोल रहे हो और दूसरों को बोलने नहीं दे रहे हो will also go against you.
Detrimental, would be detrimental. And we see a lot of people speaking continuously 2 minutes without listening to anybody.
Because assuming कि मैं बोलूँगा तो मैं select हो जाऊँगा
Correct.
is not correct, which is also covered in the briefing कि if you speak on behalf of the group, you will not get any extra point.
Correct. So that is small things are in the briefing which students don't realize. And then they say,
Giving a proper listening to the briefing, proper attention to the briefing, understanding briefing, and then implementing it in your actions and words is what will make a difference.
absolutely. Same as for the GTO, जहाँ पे GTO briefing है, आप सुनते नहीं हो, आप कुछ और बोल देते हो, it's a problem. Same as for interview. तो अगर मैं general बात करूँ, सबसे important तो यही है, what the assessors are saying, if you are able to put those directions into your mind would be the best thing to go about it.
It is to help the candidates only.
Right.
People don't realize. ठीक है. Whenever any briefing is given, my first thing whenever I was there, I
Right.
used to tell them कि 100% attention will help you.
Right.
ठीक है. इनफैक्ट आई कीप टेलिंग देम इफ यू पे मोर देन 100% attention, probably things will get resolved for you. You will find the way also in the instructions of the briefing कि मुझे करना क्या है.
Correct.
ठीक है. half the times you're confused कि मुझे करना क्या है.
Right.
ठीक है. even though you may know the answer or probably the right answer also, बट अगर तुम उसमें एक्स्ट्रा मसाला घुसाने की कोशिश करोगे, ट्राइंग टू कॉम्प्लिकेट थिंग्स योरसेल्फ, तो यू विल एंड अप वेस्टिंग टाइम रादर देन यूटिलाइजिंग टाइम.
करेक्ट सर. सर वही चीज़ है कि screening, another thing sir, screening, how does all three people, assessors, have a role in there? What are they supposed to write down to you get screened in?
When they listen to you, everyone has same understanding of कि क्या करना है. It is your knowledge and how you participate or behave in a group is what is being tested, plus whether you have a potential in terms of going into phase 2 for that particular assessment.
Right.
यानी कि साइकोलॉजिस्ट ये देख रहा है कि फ्रॉम साइकोलॉजिस्ट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू कि अगर ये आगे आता है तो will he be a suitable candidate who should be assessed in psychology in phase 2. Similarly, interview officer is also looking at him कि ये अगर आएगा तो कुछ बोलेगा, नहीं बोलेगा, will he speak something which is
the must.
हाँ, must or probably the grade which is required. उस टाइप की बातें बोलेगा, या he'll keep quiet about it, or he'll be speaking something or making a fish market as you asked earlier. Same way GTO is also checking कि इसका ग्रुप में क्या behavior है, कैसे behave कर रहा है, whether he is a good candidate for phase 2 or not.
Right, sir.
So everybody put together will see the same, plus also your ability to communicate.
Correct.
ठीक है. तो all these once you put together, and OIR which you said initially is also a must. There is a direct link between OIR and your PPDT. Correct. Which is tested. There is a formula or method which we know,
right,
through which we link these two things and come on the desired results कि इसको रखना है कि नहीं रखना.
Right, sir. Right, sir. So now coming to the other thing, the most important thing. A lot of people tend to be very nervous while giving an interview. We have always advised students to have a smile, because at the end of the day, the way that you are attractive, you tend to give a positive vibe about yourself. How much of a difference your positivity makes while going for an interview?
Positivity will definitely give you plus point
right,
in terms of being positive about things.
Right.
But इंटरव्यू ऑफिसर जब इंटरव्यू लेते हैं तो दे हैव अ रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ पुटिंग यू अंडर स्ट्रेस आल्सो.
करेक्ट.
ठीक है. टू चेक हाउ मच स्ट्रेस कैन यू टेक.
राइट.
तो वो जब करते हैं तो इफ ही स्टिल स्माइलिंग, देन इट गिव्स अ फॉल्स इंप्रेशन कि ये स्माइल सिर्फ स्माइल के लिए कर रहा है या
फिर वो
जेन्युइन है.
या
ठीक है. तो it should change with your answers and the questions being put up to you.
Right.
So that will give a better understanding of whether it is genuine or not genuine,
right,
and how much impact it will make.
Right, sir. So that is one thing very importantly you said, because we've seen a lot of candidates even asked a very serious question, they're smiling about it. Shows that they've been very honestly, that is the
so like we have girl candidates also, we have boys candidates also. तो अगर वो स्माइल कर रहा है तो कई बार उनको लगता है कि हम सामने वाले को स्माइल करके ज्यादा नंबर ले लेंगे, which is not correct.
Right.
Similarly, girls may consider कि मैं स्माइल ज्यादा करूंगी तो probably सर के ऊपर ज्यादा अच्छा impression पड़ेगा. So which is also once again not correct.
Right.
और आजकल few ladies are also interview officers.
Correct. Correct.
So boys may think on the other hand कि मैं smile करूँगा तो she may get impressed or whatever.
Right.
So all these are false impressions which should not be based on कि भाई smile करने से help मिलती है.
Right.
Smile is good, but it should be genuine and on the correct question and answer.
Correct. And so similarly, as you said, suppose somebody's asked a very, it's actually true. This is exactly what I wanted to push through. बिकॉज अगर अब आपने हमने मैंने स्टार्टिंग में बोली यू शुड ऑलवेज हैव अ पॉजिटिव पर्सनालिटी व्हिच इज ट्रू. नाउ अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल वुड हैव जस्ट लुक्ड एट द फर्स्ट पार्ट एंड सेड ओ इट्स बेटर कि मैं तो हंसते हुए जाऊं. नाउ एग्जैक्टली व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू टेल इज यही चीज़ ना अगर आप वीडियो में देखते हो आप सिर्फ एक पोर्शन पढ़ लेते हो तो वो गलत हो जाता है. जैसे अभी हमने बात किया स्माइलिंग इज करेक्ट बट ही इज आस्किंग why did your father die or what responsibility, because a lot of negative things also come in life. अब वो हंसता जाएगा that shows that he's been pretty much, because यही मैं सबको बताने की बात करता हूँ, don't be coached like this.
Responses have to be as per the question and emotions have to be as per the question.
Right.
अगर तुम like news reader का example ले लो, if he or she is covering a news which is related to death of a prominent personality,
Correct.
तो अगर वो स्माइल करके वो न्यूज़ पढ़ रही है तो people will not like it. So
Correct.
it is something similar कि इंटरव्यू में you're talking about some incident which is going to adversely affect your family or probably you yourself, तो तुम उसको हंसते हंसते बोल रहे हो तो it shows something कि you're not concerned about the
Correct.
actual incident which happened.
तो यही चीज़ from everybody point of view, that's the same thing I wanted to say. What we wanted to cover through this is basically tell somebody कि तुम कुछ चीज़ देखते हो कहीं पे भी, don't follow it. Understand the thing, when we say be positive does not mean that you're positive 24/7. Or
So it is something like everybody has different reaction to a different
Correct.
situation.
correct.
So you may respond differently. You may not get bugged up so badly
As compared to
कि बहुत रोने लग गए कि
Right.
दुखी वाला क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया. That also shows negatively because
सर यही
that
मैं
means
वापस
कि-
दो क्वेश्चंस आपसे, सॉरी टू इंटरप्ट, दो चीजें. हाउ मच डज समबडी क्राइंग मेक अ डिफरेंस? सेकंड इज हाउ मच शुड बी वन रिलीजियस? एंड देयर हैज बीन अ रीसेंट थिंग आल्सो वेयर somebody was recently removed for a reason because he said that I will not go and participate in a religious function, an officer, and he said because his troops were of that. So how much does religion play a function in terms of the SSB, and how much does your crime will make up?
Okay, I'll answer both. Religion makes a lot of a difference because following your religion is something which we don't say कि भाई don't follow your religion.
Right.
But respect all religions is what we want.
Correct.
So generally we call it Sarv Dharm Sthal. Like
Right.
in army they have Gurdwara, Mandir and all these things together,
Right, sir.
mosque, everything together.
Right.
That means कि जो भी हमारा धर्म है हम उसको फॉलो करते हैं, that is good, but then we don't undermine the other religion.
Right.
अगर तुम ऐसी यूनिट में पोस्टिंग आ गई है जहाँ पे तुम्हारे धर्म के लोग नहीं हैं या कम हैं और तुम उनके धर्म के लिए रिस्पेक्ट नहीं शो करोगे, then it becomes detrimental and people don't attach to you and their unit में cohesiveness नहीं आएगा.
Right.
So it is important and that's why we don't want anybody who's radicalized or probably जिसको हम कट्टर बोलते हैं, कट्टरपंथी नहीं चाहिए हमको.
Right.
It should be give
Equal
equal
respect.
respect to all religions.
Right.
So it is important. मतलब anybody who's very very strict about his religion कि मेरे religion के बारे में कुछ मत बोलना, तो भी वो negative में ही count होता है.
Right.
ठीक है, बट शोइंग कंपैशन फॉर एवरी रिलीजन एंड शोइंग रिस्पेक्ट फॉर योर ओन रिलीजन इज समथिंग गुड. मतलब जो सामने वाला बोल रहा है वो तो नेचुरली खराब है, गलत बोल रहा है, बट देन यू शुड बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड कि क्या हो रहा है और कैसे सिचुएशन को हैंडल करना है.
करेक्ट.
तो डोंट गेट अपसेट अबाउट मतलब कि मेरे रिलीजन के बारे में ऐसे कैसे बोल दिया और उसके चक्कर में तुम मतलब खून खराबे पे उतर आओ.
राइट.
ठीक है. सेकंड इज अबाउट क्राइंग विच यू आस्क्ड मी. तो जैसे मैंने बोला स्ट्रेस की वजह से जो क्वेश्चंस पूछते हैं
कितने लोग आपके सामने से रोज?
एक्चुअली स्पीकिंग तो बहुत लोग रोते हैं.
राइट.
बट जब बाहर निकलते हैं कोई नहीं बोलता बिकॉज nobody wants to project him or herself as a weak student.
Right.
So बाहर निकल के कोई एक्सेप्ट नहीं करेगा कि भाई रोए थे और ये हो गया था. But then it happens.
Right.
Sometimes genuine, sometimes trying to gain sympathy.
Right.
ठीक है, तो it is
So that's also what I would like to tell, which there are two ways. Look at the assessor's point of view, because there are two ways of looking at it. One is genuine, and one is the other way of getting sympathy. That again is where manipulation comes, and where assessor is able to figure it out much better, sir. If you could continue further.
So when you are trying to gain sympathy, assessors will come to know, because फिर questions के answers fluctuate होते रहते हैं, because on one hand you will try and smile more, on one hand you will smile less but cry more.
Right.
तो matching जो है वो नहीं होती है, and personality is what counts. तो
Right.
it looks like bipolar जैसे हम बोलते हैं, तो it looks like two people in one body.
Right, sir.
ठीक है, और गिविंग अ फॉल्स इम्प्रेशन ऑल टुगेदर. ठीक है, तो इसलिए क्राइंग विल नॉट बी अ डेट्रीमेंट इफ इट इज जेन्युइन,
Right.
but then you should be able to control your emotions within no time.
Correct.
It should not happen कि अब तुमसे एक क्वेश्चन ऐसा पूछ लिया था जिसकी वजह से तुम रोने लग गए थे, तो rest of the interview continues in the same mode or same tone.
Right.
So you have to come back to original and be as fast as possible. It is something like medical recovery कि तुम दौड़ भाग के आए हो, कितनी देर में तुम्हारी सांस फूलना बंद हो गई, कितनी देर में तुम्हारी नॉर्मल हो गई हार्ट बीट. तो इट इज समथिंग लाइक दैट कि अगर तुम रिकवर कितनी देर में होते हो, मतलब इमोशन से वापस बाहर कितनी देर में आते हो, तो दैट विल मेक एन डिफरेंस.
Right. So that's a wonderful tip that you gave somebody, because a lot of people tend to use this. Like, first of all is religion and crying. Same for smiling. These are the basic tips which an assessor can find out. Assessor ki, as they say, assessor can find out everything. Within his eye, everything is able to be seen and determined. So वही चीज़ है, जितना आप genuine रहोगे, there are more chances of you getting through. And the crux of it is about knowing yourself.
Correct.
The day you don't know yourself, the day you know yourself, there are more chances of you getting through. Another thing, sir, which a lot of questions, a lot of doubts that I have, is why are that candidates rejected 7-8 times, then get recommended, and then there's a stream of recommendations that they get, whereas sometimes they are not getting recommended 7 times. What could be the reason? Of course, the most important thing is knowing yourself. The day you start knowing yourself, that is when you start developing it. This is for all the repeaters, that they should not lose hope कि तुम अगर एक बार फेल हो गए तो पास नहीं हो सकते. What should they do?
Most important thing is self-analysis, which should be a true analysis and sincere analysis.
Right.
Sincere से मेरा मतलब है, when we talk about analysis, my statement which goes like this is self-analysis is best analysis.
Right.
Which means कि अगर तुम sincerely check कर रहे हो कि मैंने क्या बोला था और कितना genuine answer था, because in the heart of heart हम बोलते हैं कि हमें पता है कि हमारी गलती है,
Right.
तो लेकिन एक्सेप्ट नहीं करना है और अपने आप को धोखा नहीं देना है. तो
Correct.
अगर वो कर रहे हैं फिर हम ट्रू एनालिसिस नहीं कर पाएंगे. और दूसरा ये है कि हाउ मच एफर्ट आर यू पुटिंग इन. अगर जो एफर्ट तुमने लगाया था प्रोबेबली वर्कड इन फर्स्ट गो एंड यू गॉट रिकमेंडेड, एंड सेकेंड टाइम तुमको करंट इवेंट्स चेंज हो गए और बहुत कुछ चेंज हो गया, या क्वेश्चंस चेंज हो गए, या तुम्हारा एनवायरनमेंट पिछले 6 महीने में तुमने क्या क्या एक्टिविटीज़ करी उसके बारे में कोई क्वेश्चंस आते हैं which you're not able to describe, or what changes or improvements have you made in yourself from the last SSB to this SSB.
Right.
वो अगर तुम ठीक से नहीं एनालाइज करते हो तो यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू असेस ऑल्सो, एंड कई बार ओवर असेसमेंट कर देते हैं और ओवर करेक्शंस कर देते हैं.
Right.
तो वो जो ओवर करेक्शंस होती हैं कि अच्छा ये आंसर नहीं चला तो ये चल जाएगा,
Correct.
ये नहीं चला तो ये चल जाएगा, which may lead to again incorrect answers. And probably जैसे तुम्हारा क्वेश्चन था कि 7th-8th टाइम यू रियलाइज कि यार ये सब जो मैं दे रहा था ये बनावटी आंसर्स थे या
Correct.
फोर्स्ड आंसर्स थे, या लग रहा था कि ये रिकमेंडेड कैंडिडेट के आंसर्स थे तो इससे तो मैं जरूर पास हो जाऊंगा. You leave everything and then actually you start giving your original answers.
Correct.
एंड दैट इज द टाइम यू रियलाइज कि ओरिजिनल आंसर देते ही तुम पास हो गए.
Right.
तो दैट कैन ऑल्सो हैपन.
Right. Okay. That would be enough. Thank you. Right. So now we have enough of it. Now it's my job. I will do it properly, sir. Because जैसे उसमें जैसे मैंने start किया ना, that is what I did. I had to go through each minute.